Good morning and welcome back to the morning commute with Hopi living in the city. It is a warm 72 degrees outside and we are headed into central Phoenix. I was up around 4:20 and I started the breakfast and then the missus got up and then finished off the rolling the burritos and then I packed up some leftovers to put in the fridge. And then I made me filled the little bento box with some of the carnitas, Spanish rice, and refried beans. I forgot to pack some chili, but I think I'll be okay. The missus has a new recipe that she's perfecting. It's for Spanish rice made from scratch, and it's really good. We've been lucky to have it a couple nights already, and she practiced it on Saturday, I think. Yeah, it was Saturday. We had a nice cookout on Saturday. It was great because everybody was home, the band was over, and no, the band was over on Sunday, but one of the members was over on Saturday. So my Duya was there. He was demonstrating how to make a cradle board, and we're still editing that video. He does have them for sale if anybody's interested. He was working on a poplar one that he's going to enter into the upcoming Maricopa County Fair. And then he has a walnut one that he entered into another competition. And that one's finished and available. And then he has another one, I think it's oak that he's working on. So yeah, those are all handmade with different types of wood. Just he does custom orders. He has a nice wood shop that he goes to. And then our boys were home, and the missus and I, and we got a belated birthday cake as well for our son. And so, Billy, we had al pastor on the stove, carne asada on the grill outside, hot dogs, tortillas, chips and salsa, the new Spanish rice dish, and it was nice. We ate good, and we ate cake before we started prepping the meal, and then we had cake after we were done. It was a big old chocolate tres leches cake, tres leche cake. I don't know if it has it's plural or not because it's yeah it probably is leches, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it was fun. And then my nephew was working on his cradle board. He was showing us, and then he started working on the assembly. He was also awaiting a part for the steaming of the headboard, I guess you would say, or shade that covers the head. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, but we also have plans to make a do an interview on how the process is done, the inspiration, and he explained a little about it. And but we're planning on doing something a little more in depth. This is good coffee. Okay, let's see what's going on the radio.
breathe, according to some humanities. And from Eric and Wendy Schmidt through the Schmidt Family Foundation.
Replace a repair call. Howard Aaron Plumbing. Arizona's motion picture production program, created by the state legislature 2 years ago, allows $125 million in refundable tax credits for qualified film projects. But is it working? Are taxpayers getting their money back? Joining us is Mignon Gould, the associate editor of the Phoenix Business Journal and author of a Biz Journal story entitled Valleywood or Bust. Arizona is one of 38 states that offer film incentives, but is the program worth the investment? So, Mignon, this can be used for feature films and television shows, commercials, and music videos, but how does that program actually work?
Hello, Jim. Basically, the program is open to filmmakers and studios who shoot at least 50% of their projects in Arizona in a qualified facility. Now, what that means is it needs to be a facility that's at least 10,000 square feet or on location in the state, such as at the Grand Canyon. The base tax credit in this instance is 15%. Another 5% can be allocated, it's available if local cast and crew are used and post-production is also done here. Now, those two additional caveats, those credits are in increments of 2.5%.
So, okay, let's just take a look at the numbers from the time that we started the tax incentive 2 years ago. Has the film industry spending picked up here?
Great question, LaDonna. The program is really still in its infancy, so it's really hard to see. It by a city, for instance, like look at Phoenix. Phoenix alone, in the first period, the incentives were done between 2005 and 2010. The average filmmaker expenditure was $34 million over that period. But in 2024, film production spent over $29 million. So that kind of gives you an idea that we're probably about neck and neck to where we were when they originally did the film incentives, but it's still pretty early. We see some activity in Tucson, so it's still pretty early to really gauge how much better it is this base than it was when they originally did the incentive.
We were talking with Mignon Gould, the associate editor of the Phoenix Business Journal and author of a Biz Journal story entitled Valleywood or Bust, which looks at our tax incentive program here in Arizona for film production. The Goldwater Institute wants this to end. They see this as crony capitalism, and they filed a lawsuit against the Department of Revenue and Governor Hobbs, among others. What's the gist of their lawsuit?
Well, the case centers around the gift clause that says taxpayer funds should not be used to fund private companies without a direct benefit to taxpayers. So basically, they're arguing that it's not a constitutional initiative. So that's kind of where that is. But you look at it like you mentioned earlier, over 38 states have these initiatives. So there is some background to show that it is working in order for that many states to still be using it. So it could really go either way, but that's pretty much what they're arguing.
So let me ask this then, if very specifically to the Goldwater Institute lawsuit, don't states and cities, et cetera, provide tax incentives for all kinds of businesses?
Yeah, while doing my research, I found that there are different ways in which businesses are incentivized, and so I'm not an attorney, or an economist, so I can't really speak to how they're going to argue this. But I have in my research seen that there are different types of programs that you could probably look on face value might infringe upon that gift clause, but they work for those local programs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And by the way, neither LaDonna or I are economists or lawyers either. Did I read your resume wrong? No. Okay, just no. I am not an attorney. I think this is born out of frustration. I actually wrote an article about this for Phoenix Magazine a couple of years ago about how Dark Winds, which should be a show that I'm all into because it's set at the Kayenta Navajo Nation police station, where I spent part of my childhood growing up, I can't watch it because it's filmed in New Mexico. You know, it's like,
I love that you say that, Jim, because this is one of the things that local filmmakers and other filmmakers have said. Like actually based in California, director Deborah Faria, who is the director of the film The War Between, she had to make the decision between going to New Mexico or shooting the film here. But the film is based on an incident. I shouldn't say incident, but based on a battle that took place here at Pikachu Peak, which is right outside of Tucson. And she really wanted the authenticity that Arizona brings, that our deserts are unlike any other desert, right? And a lot of places choose New Mexico because the incentive package is at one point was much better than what Arizona had to offer, or Arizona didn't have one. So I think one thing she said that really stuck with me, we should be, in Arizona, we should be the narrator of our story, right? They should be in our area and told by local filmmakers, the local crews, and local crews were actually used for that film. So I think she made a good case for why it's important to have these type of incentives so that we can tell our own stories in this state.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Minion Gould, who is the associate editor of the Phoenix Business Journal, and her story is called Valleywood or Bust.
KTAR News Time is 5:15. Coming up next as we deal with record heat. North and South Carolina are still battling wildfires.
Such a strange story. First, let's go to John Rollard live in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
Thank you very much, LaDonna. Things picking up just a little bit as we get closer to the 6 o'clock mark. We do have a crash off to the right, eastbound I-10. This is right near 3rd Street, and of course that's causing some slow and go. Starting back to 51st Avenue as you come into downtown Phoenix, and still see stop and go slowing in the East Valley. Westbound US 60 had a crash earlier right in the transition ramp to the northbound Loop 101 Price Freeway there, and you're slowing still. Starts at Alma School Road now, and that will stay with you until you get past that transition if you are coming to westbound on the 60 into the Broadway curve. Camelback west of 35th Avenue, we've got a crash there. Crash involving the pedestrian, 35th Avenue and Baseline, and a crash in 75th Avenue and McDowell, seeing some slowing at that intersection. John Moore, KTAR News.
One day possible today with sunny skies.
All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching, subscribing, commenting, and sharing our videos. Hope you have the best day ever, and don't forget to hug and tell your loved ones how much you appreciate them.